various fields of life. This is a platform in which excellence meets inspiration in a dynamic exchange of ideas and skills. This is a platform where we get to exchange ideas with our alumni who are carving a niche in the world in different walks of life. We are your moderators, Parvati.
And Vigna.
With this, we hope to share the pearls of wisdom and advice that our alumni present here will be imparting in us. Excellence is not a single act, but a habit. It is found in the small, consistent choices we make every day. This powerful quote reflects the core of what sets true achievers apart. It's not just talent, but the relentless dedication to the process that shapes greatness. This unwavering commitment is beautifully reflected in the journeys of our two distinguished guests, whose lives are a testament to turning passion into purpose. Our first guest for today is Miss Smriti Sridhar, who is a budding Bharatanatyam dancer. She has immersed herself in the art form for the past 13 years, and she has been training under the able guidance of Dr. Acharya Raksha Karthik at the Natyam Institute of Dance for the last 6 years. Smriti successfully completed her Arangetram on June 8, 2024 in Bengaluru. She has already performed at over 90 prestigious events and temple festivals. To enhance her understanding of classical arts, Smriti has also pursued Carnatic music for 7 years, which complements her dance skills. She is also a passionate painter. She is currently pursuing her BA Honours in Performing Arts and Psychology. We extend our warm welcome to Ms. Smriti Sridhar, distinguished practitioner of the classical arts, whose dedication continues to inspire and elevate.
Thank you.
Welcoming our next guest, who's a multidisciplinary designer whose design journey has taken them around the world. Having graduated summa cum laude from the Fashion Institute of Technology, New York, the world's foremost design school, and named Student of the Year at NIFT, India's leading fashion college, his work is grounded in a deep respect for history and culture, with a design philosophy rooted in storytelling, craft, and traditional arts. In his professional journey, he has worked on design projects for leading global brands such as Puma and Salesforce. Outside the studio, he's a trained Carnatic vocalist, a competitive swimmer, and a passionate philanthropist dedicated to preserving Sanskrit literature and keeping Vedic knowledge alive in rural India. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed guest, Mr. Rajgopal Raghunath, an aspiring designer and a visual poet. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
If you both are ready, shall we continue into the question round?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Shall we begin with our first question? My first question is for you, Mr. Rajagopal.
Yes.
Being a student of DPS Bangalore East, how did your experience at school help you balance academics with your passion for art and design?
So I think one of the things that has really helped me across school is the support of my teachers. I've been very close to my teachers from first through graduation, and all of them have been very vocal in their support of whatever I do. Regardless of whether it be Carnatic music in my younger days, where I used to go on practice sessions, and even like my music teachers in school who used to invite me for a lot of occasions, that really got me out of my stage fear. Believe it or not, I was extremely afraid of going on stage. Like when I was in like say first or maybe even sixth grade, I would like fear the thought of going to a competition or even speaking at a public forum because I would always think about somebody judging me for what I'm doing. But my teachers relentlessly pursued me to, push me out there and sort of make myself voice me out there in the stages out there. So that persuasion of my teachers is what helped me go and put myself out there on stages. And I think that's something that's extremely important for any student to really gain their full potential in any field, right? And that support of my teachers is something that I still cherish today. I'm still in contact with most of them, and they do not support. They do not stop their support even today. And I think that's a core value. And another thing is in DPS, with the kind of exposure that we get to, the variety of learnings through our hobbies or through the experiences that a lot of people bring. from across. Like I feel like our student body has like people from across the globe, people that have visited other countries and come back, people that have come from different parts of the country. And that really sort of gives you perspective and makes you interact with a wide diversity of people. And that diversity is important to, sort of make yourself set up in college later on, because college is a lot more diverse and work a lot more even after that. And I think DPS serves as the best foundation to take this forward. You're not surprised when you're thrown into college. You're not that one scared, afraid kid that's in college that's like, what am I going to do next? How am I going to make friends? Because you've already been in such a big school with like thousands of people that you don't really feel afraid to interact with new people. When I went to college, I found college smaller than our school. Okay. And I found it very easy to navigate about college. And that navigation made it like made me stand out from day one. In school, if it took me 6 years to gain my complete confidence and burst out of my shell, in college I was there from day one. And I think that's thanks to my school. I couldn't say anything more for that. And other than that, one keen thing is, again, communication is a very important thing in both university life and later on in work life. Because you might be extremely skilled and extremely talented, but if you do not know how to present yourself, then you're lost. People do not recognize what you do. And that recognition is of extreme importance. Because if you do, like, say, if you're like working hard day and night, burning the midnight oil, but if, say, you're in a competition and your jury members do not see what you've put in, or say you're at work and your superiors do not see what you've worked for, then that work goes unrecognized. Obviously, enjoying the journey is important, but enjoying the recognition is equally important, is what I would say. And that communication skill, again, as a core foundation, was built for me at school. Communication, knowingly or unknowingly, becomes like an integral part of life at DPS. And I wouldn't say anyone has ever forced me to talk in particularly in English or in a particular way, but that sort of builds into your DNA as you move about school. So I would say these are the three key factors and takeaway for me from being a student at DPS, which I still cherish across my professional journey.
Truly and exactly, Mr. Rajgopal. It is truly our school experiences, teacher support, and the diversification we meet at our schools which define our future and how we pursue life. Thank you so much for that answer.
I'd like to start by asking my first question to Miss Smriti. You took up this form of dance 12 years ago. How did your love for this dance originate and grow over the years? And how has the support from DPS helped you in this journey?
So initially, when I had started dance, I was about 5 or 6 years old. And at that point, it was honestly something that my parents had wanted me to do. But over time, as I kept learning, and after I had switched from my first guru to my current guru, Dr. Raksha Karthik, it just became something that I loved so much. I would get so many opportunities to perform on stages in Bangalore, outside of Bangalore, and internationally, which really made me fall in love with the art form even more. So many different opportunities where other people can experience your art form, and you see and you understand their experience, and they come and tell you, oh, this piece was beautiful and it really, like, it touched me. That outreach and the impact that the dance form has on people really open their eyes, and you really understand and start to fall in love more with the art form. Another thing that made me fall in love with Bharatanatyam more was the more I learned with as I like grew as a dancer, you learn more about Indian mythology, you learn more stories, and you really think like, wow, there's so much that we don't know. And when you get to express those stories beautifully through stories and sancharis in dance, you become a character, you embody someone else who you may not be able to be in real life. And that can give you a sense of like confidence or accomplishment, which really makes you grow as a dancer. And I think when I was in DPS for the short 2 years that I was there, my teachers really pushed me and they really asked me every time, like, hey, Smriti, would you like to perform at this event? And I, at that point, wanted to grab every opportunity I could to perform so I could keep dance as a thing that I could do in school as well as outside of school. So I think DPS really gave me a lot of opportunities. Invictus, class assemblies, inauguration dances, all of these really helped me uh, gain more confidence in myself not not just as a person, but also as like a solo classical dancer. And I think my class teacher, Chandrasekhar sir, who is here with us today, he really supported me. And even to this day, he really supports me through my dance journey. And it's something that I will cherish for the rest of my life. So I think DPS has really been able to give me a lot of opportunities to perform while also giving me the space to perform outside of school without any pressure.
Thank you, Ms. Smriti. It's beautiful to see how your passion has grown, especially with the support of DPS. My next question is from Mr. Rajagopal. You studied design in two very different places, India at NIFT and New York at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. What differences did you notice in the two education systems? And if you faced any challenge, how did you overcome them?
So I would say in terms of education system, I think I should integrally answer both. Challenge. I think I'll start with challenge because I went with the stereotype I think most of us go with that Indians are generally considered extremely studious compared to Americans. And that is the same stereotype that I went into FIT with, that I'm going to be extremely studious. And I don't think an education system change is going to challenge me. I'm going to be able to tackle anything, after like the challenges that were presented to me at school and then at NIFT. I was like, I was prepared, what are they going to throw at me? But then week one over there, I realized they are in a different level of challenging professionalism that I was not prepped for. Same in my life, I've always had that sort of leeway in terms of my projects and presentations, where, say, if I'm a little delayed with something, my teachers in India have always been supportive of the fact that it's all right. As long as the quality of the project is driving forward, you have leeway to go and do it a little longer, and you don't have a tight set deadline. And that is something you can communicate easily. And over there, teachers are supportive as well, but they're very strict on their deadlines. The moment you miss a deadline, your grade drops by 20%, which I was not ready for. The first week, I went into class and I had done 70% of my assignment, but I felt like it wasn't perfect enough for me to submit it. And I went and told the teacher that, I cannot submit it today. I need a day more. She said, sure, take a day more, but you'll only be graded out of 80. And I was like, no, that's not happening. I wasn't ready for a grade drop just for a little delayed submission. And I was forced to sit there, burn the midnight oil and complete it on the spot and give it to her. Okay. And this is something that threw me into a sort of culture shock. I was like, I was not prepped for this sort of strictness outside of India, which I thought India was already at the lead of. And other than this, my schedule at FIT was extremely, packed, because one advantage that you get in colleges abroad is that you get to pick your own timetable. And that initially felt very liberating because I've always wanted to set my timetable in a way that I feel comfortable. So I went all out. I set all my classes within a 4-day window so that I'd have a 3-day weekend every weekend and enjoy that 3-day weekend. But that was not the case. That 4-day window made it extremely stressful for me. I used to leave home at 8 o'clock in the morning and come back home at 11 o'clock. And as soon as I came back, I would have like 10 minutes to like a little bit freshen myself up and sit back into assignments again. And literally from 11:15 till morning 4:15, I'd be doing assignments, sleep for 2 hours, wake up at 6:15 and go back into college. That is something I've never done in India at NIFT or in DPS for exams or anything. And that is something that really threw me out there in shock in terms of challenges that came up. I think it's simply the dedication that they show to their work is different. The quality of work, I would say Indians are equally talented. But the dedication that, the global population sort of brings in is extreme. They're like, regardless of whether I'm going to give it to my full quality or not, I'm going to be present, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to show progress at every step in the way, which is very important for a field like design, because you need to be able to, develop on your previous week's work to know where you really stand. You can't just stay there for 3 weeks and end up and go and show a design project. That's not really how a collaborative field as design works. So that is something in terms of both challenge and way that it works, I felt. And in terms of the education system, I felt like the professors over there, given that most of them were from the industry, rather than only having a teaching background, brought in a unique perspective from the industry. They taught you as if you were their juniors rather than their students. And that really set the, college experience as more of a professional working experience rather than a studying experience. That had both its pros and cons because, I think in India, we always see our teacher as, like with Guru Maryada, they're always there as your like God equivalent person, where where you see them, you put them on a pedestal, and you're ready to do anything they say. But over there, they're your colleague, and as your colleague, they're willingly ready to give you like really harsh feedback in terms of in front of the whole class, and at the same time give you the appreciation that you need, but as a colleague. So that balance really gave a new perspective to the way that I saw things and helped me launch me into my career right now. And I would say that was like the main thing, and that kind of made it an enjoyable experience, different from here, because I was always shocked or surprised by what they'd say next. And I would say that was mainly my difference in terms of education system and difficulties that I faced over there.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful. I'm sure a lot of the aspiring designers in DPS will, it'll benefit them a lot. Thank you.
Hopefully, yes.
The next question is for Ms. Smriti. Classical dance needs a lot of discipline and hard work. What rigor or discipline do you follow diligently? Can you share what a usual day of practice looks like and helps you stay true to your art form?
So when it comes to Bharatanatyam, it's an art form that requires a lot of practice, especially since there's a lot of technicalities involved in it. You need to make sure that you practice every day to keep in touch so that you don't like lose your balance or your postures. So for me, since I am pursuing dance in college as well, on a daily basis, I have college practice. So for at least an hour or two, I'll be practicing in college from the basics, from Adavus to Allaripu, Jatiswaram, Kautvam. So these are all the basics that I touch upon in college. And outside of college, in my dance class, I am regularly performing with my guru and with my friends in class. So we have class almost every day for at least 2 to 3 hours. During these 3 hours, it's important that you have fun and you take it lightly, but at the same time, it's also important that you focus and you make sure that you're practicing so that when you are performing, you don't end up making mistakes on stage. So for me, like a daily routine would be I come to college, I have my dance classes, my regular classes. And then once I go home around 5 to 8 o'clock is when I go to dance class and I practice for upcoming programs, or I just practice songs that I know just to make sure that I don't forget it so that I can keep in touch with it. And it's also important to rewatch performances, rewatch your previous performances to make sure that when you watch the dance, you can understand where you have gone wrong and you can further improve on it. For my Arangetram, I had done all new songs. So I did not have any reference for like practicing. So I could not go back and look at songs that I've performed before and then work on it more. So what I had to do was I would go to dance class every day. And for 2 or 3 hours, I would sit with my teacher and I would practice, but she would give me the feedback. I would take this feedback back home. And then for like the 1 month before my Arangetram, I would practice every day diligently without breaks for 3 hours, just to make sure that I don't lose touch or forget anything. So it's always important that you practice every day and dedicate yourself to the art, because if there is no passion, if you don't like want to do it, then you are going to eventually lose touch with it and you're going to be, forgive me for using this word, lazy, because you think that it's not worth it.
Wow, Ms. Shruti, that's a truly powerful story. Your dedication and hard work to your art form is truly inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing it. The next question is for you, Mr. Rajagopal. You have lived and worked abroad for some time. How did you stumble upon the opportunity of working as a designer at a brand like Puma? How did you strike for a work-life balance while staying abroad?
So I would say as far as the opportunity came, it came through my college. It came as an internship. And honestly, at that point in time, I didn't even think about the brand. All I could think about, I know this is going to sound a little crass, but all I could think about was the kind of high stipend that they were offering. So I was just like, what's the harm in shooting my shot? And I think this is, again, another skill that I built out of DPS where, you always shoot your shot, regardless of what you know the result is going to be, And I was like, why not? Half my class didn't even see the email, and I was just like sending it through. And surprisingly, I got a call a week later for a group discussion, which later on converted into an interview and then an internship at Puma. That's mainly how the journey went. And I would again point out like the things that helped me stand out in the group discussion and the interview is the communication skills that I built across school and college. Because as I said, again, very, very important in any field, especially in design, is the way that you present yourself. And that presentation, I think I had done a good job of it, being that they selected me. And that's how it sort of led to a job at Puma. And as soon as I joined Puma, it was like one of my first corporate experiences. I had done internships before, but they were remote or in smaller agencies. And being that it was my first corporate experience, I was very excited, starting from the way that an office worked. Like I never felt, a sort of toxic culture that people often put in memes and reels about how corporate is very dangerous. I never felt that. I found it as a very warm welcome from day one. I would say that has something to do with how the company had nurtured a culture as well. And the way that a few of my friends, which I've made over there, made me feel like good from the moment that they talk to me. And that is something that you build as individuals as you go along, where you welcome strangers into your life and that kind of integrates them into it. And that's the reason why I never felt out of place joining corporate. And it was a wonderful experience for the past 2 years in Puma. And honestly, it is still quite good, from small campaigns that go live to where you sit with your colleagues, work the entire day, sometimes work nights, and you pull off something which you feel very proud of when it goes live. But as you said, work-life balance is something of keen importance. I do always put it on top because I have my schedule set very tightly. Like oftentimes I go to work, I come back, I immediately have like my music classes where I go for my Veena class or I self-learn on my own Carnatic music right now because I've been learning it for the past 10 years. So that is something that happens, and that kind of completely occupies me. After going a whole day in traffic and coming back, you sit in classes and you have to remain awake. And then after that, you gotta go and do your practice, because without practice, as Smriti said, it's not going to come about easily. In any form of any art form, you got to remain very consistent with your practice. You got to remain very consistent with the way that you're practicing. You can't just give it your half-hearted efforts. You need to be completely determined to get what you're doing right. And that's what makes you skilled and sets you apart. So that is something that you got to put a lot of time into. And I'm a person that loves reading. I read a lot. I write as well. So that is something that deserves time in itself. Other than that, as a designer, you need to do something which is to develop your portfolio every day. If you do not develop your portfolio, you become irrelevant in the field. You can't live with a 10-year-old portfolio and expect people to hire you after that. You need to keep your portfolio updated, if not for like finding a new job in itself, to keep yourself up to date in terms of what is happening in the design field and what is happening in terms of the technical field in design where you're developing your skills. And other than that, obviously, you need to keep yourself at least somewhat physically active so that you don't completely burn out. So putting all this together and also hanging out with your friends is a lot. It blunders your whole social schedule in a way that it makes you think, what am I doing? And let's not forget, 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. So the only thing that I felt like keeps me going is like the fact that I'm passionate about everything that I do. So that is one thing. And another thing I would definitely give into is the fact that my parents push me still. Every day, my parents push me to do a lot of these things. Like if I am like for a second taking a beat, if I go and lie down on my bed and open my phone to see one reel, my mom's in my room saying, what are you doing? Why are you on your phone? It doesn't matter whether you're in school or in college or in work. Your parents are always going to be there to tell that for you. And that is a very important thing. I feel like without that push, it's going to be hard. You can do it, but it's going to be hard, And that push has really helped me move forward, grew along. I'm not going to lie. Every achievement in my life is probably because my parents pushed me at some point in time. Like if I am working all of these things through into my schedule, it's because my mother does a lot more into her schedule and makes me do in my schedule's work. So I would completely credit this to my mother. And sometimes I do feel bad for her, but I'd never tell it to her. But the thing is, I would say it's that and a lot of sense of discipline that you sort of build up across the years. So it's something that, when you're like on your phone, you need to remember, is this important to do, or do I want to go and do something else? Do I want to go for a run? Do I want to play my Veena? It's something that you have to nag into yourself. You must never feel content and happy scrolling through your phone or watching Netflix. you must have a nagging feeling. You can watch Netflix. You can watch Netflix for 2 hours. You can watch a show. You can binge watch a show. You can watch a movie. But every second that you're watching the movie, your brain should nag you. Like, why are you watching a movie? Why are you watching reels? Why not do something else productive? That nagging feeling is very important. Not once have I ever been happy watching a show or a movie because of that nagging feeling. And I think that nagging feeling was built into me by my parents, and I'm extremely grateful for them doing so. And I would say that's how I've been able to build a work-life balance. Otherwise, it becomes completely hard. You might not be doing anything physically taxing at work, but staying at work for like 8-9 hours a day, it just burns you out. You might be looking at a screen, but it burns you out. Once you come back home, all you want to do is go crash onto bed and not wake up. That's all you want to do. The next day, you again wake up, go to work, and come back, and you crash on. This is a schedule that affects you in the longer term. It makes you feel unaccomplished and unachieved. And I think for those very reasons, it's very important to build that discipline into your life. And if you cannot do so yourself, to take the support of a near loved one, like your parents or your friends. It could be anyone that motivates and makes you achieve your goals. And I think that's very important. You have your set goals and you achieve it every day. And that sense of achievement drives you to achieve it the next day. And doing it with friends or parents is all your own personal choice. And doing that is what keeps your work-life balance moving on.
It is truly amazing how you dedicate your life to your passions, and it's reaffirming to see how your parents have added to your journey. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Rajagopal.
Thank you.
My next question is to Miss Smriti. You must have given innumerable dance performances over the years. Could you please share a memorable incident and what it meant to you?
I think the most memorable performance I've ever done was my Arangetram. It took me 12 long years to get to it. But when it did happen on that day, I was overjoyed. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't scared. I was just so excited to get on stage and perform for all my friends and family who have come from different parts of the world. And I think one reason why it was so impactful for me is because my teacher, every step of the way, she was always there to guide me and support me, give me advice. If I was not feeling comfortable with something, she would always listen to me. She would always tell me, it's okay, take it at your own pace. And I think the amount of practice and the amount of hours I put into the practice for my Arangetram is really unmatched to any other performance I've ever done. And I think it was so worth it once it got over. But now when I think back to it, I'm thinking, I just want to do it again. I really miss it. And I'm grateful that I get the opportunity to perform like that again, since I have a UNESCO certification. So it will be happening 3 times. So I'm really grateful that I get the opportunities, and I'm grateful to my parents for pushing me even through my slump, no matter what, and telling me that you have to do it. It's something that you love. You cannot leave it. You have to continue with it. And even my teacher supported me with that. And I'm really very grateful to my parents and my guru. And I think I would not be here without them. And so I think my Arangetram is probably the most impactful performance I've ever done.
Thank you so much. Since I also learned dance, I understand how special that feeling on stage, and once you give a good performance, that satisfaction, it lasts for a very long time. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Finally, Mr. Rajagopal, you are a philanthropist trying to revive Sanskrit and Vedic knowledge. How did you nurture this passion, and what advice would you give to the youth in this regard?
As far as nurturing this passion goes, I think I've had it from my childhood. So for more context, I was born in a place called Srirangam, which is in Tamil Nadu. And if you guys know it or not, Srirangam is the largest functioning temple in the world, dedicated to Lord Vishnu. And growing up, being born over there, I never grew up over there. I grew up in Bangalore, but growing up with my grandmother is what sort of pushed me over there. My grandmother has been pivotal for like every step of my journey in spirituality and learning, whether it be the shlokas, the Puranas, the Vedas. She's been a pivotal force. Every step of the way, she has been the one that has narrated. When you're a kid, how your grandparents narrate stories to you, right? So they've been narrating stories, they've been telling shlokas, and one of the key ways of learning is by listening. I'm sure we all know the story of Abhimanyu, of how he learned how to break the Chakravyuha when he was in his mother's womb. And I think that is that is not, a made up fake story. The more you listen, whether you're in the womb of your parent or whether you're a child, whether you're growing up, the more you listen to something, the more open to learning that you become, and the more skilled in the same you become. And I would say that is the same way that I have learned more about on my path in spirituality, in terms of my knowledge about the Vedas and the Puranas. That's been like my key way, listening a lot and then reading more upon it. Because listening is very important, but you need to do your own research. You need to put in your own steps, which I obviously did not do when I was a child, but I did as I was growing up. And also the dedication that you put into your other fields, you got to put into this as well. You need to put in the effort of learning, the curiosity of knowing more. And I would say all of this was instilled in me by my grandmother. I still joke around with my friends and distant relatives that we meet up today that in my house, me and my grandmother are the orthodox force. My parents are more chill. We team up together and tell my parents, like, do this, do that. And my parents are just like, we were listening to it from the previous generation, we are listening to it from the next generation. So I think that my partnership with my grandmother has really helped me move forward in it. That has sort of built an immense amount of interest for me in learning about God and learning about the Vedas, which I still build into my schedule today. I dedicate at least half an hour a day in learning something new in this aspect. And we do know that people in like rural parts of the country are still vested in learning our sacred scriptures. And the thing is, they are vested in it, but there isn't a lot of support out there. A lot of gurukuls that are budding in distant regions of India, small villages, they don't have the means to continue with their education, and they often are sadly diverted to pursue a different field, come back into the normal fold of where the world is going right now, which is not a bad thing, but you need to nurture and push the learning of our sacred scriptures and our history forward, because a skill which is not being learned every moment of every second of every day is a skill which is lost, which is how we lost a lot of our knowledge across millennia. But yet, given that India has that deep sacred connect to our past, even today, we are one of the only civilizations that remembers what happened 10,000 years ago. Okay, I'm sure if you go and ask someone in Europe or the US, which didn't even exist 10,000 years ago, they won't be able to say much about their history, but we have that connect, whether it be through our classical forms like music or dance. As Smriti was also pointing out how she found that mythical connect through everything that she expresses, right? So I think that is very, very important in terms of what you do. And I would say that is something that has really pushed me to go and protect these ancient bastions of knowledge, in whatever way that is capable of mine. Like whether I'm doing like a small business venture on the side, I try and dedicate almost most of my profits to back into these bastions so that they can grow. Because I feel like we have what we want, but does the country have what it needs to move forward, to preserve this knowledge? I feel like that's my way of giving back. This is my purpose, a purpose which I've associated with since I was a kid, a purpose which I still associate with and will continue associating for the rest of my life. A purpose which helps me work towards what I'm doing is to make sure that our heritage remains protected. Our temples, which have been destroyed and which have been like the face of like discrimination and whatnot across millennia, those need to be protected, because knowledge is never about taking a side. It's about simply growing. It's about knowing, because ignorance is bliss is a wrong statement. It simply is not. You need to know whether it's good or bad. You need to know what's out there so you can take an informed decision. And without that knowledge, you're simply left. I'm sorry to say the word stupid is all I could say. You need to go out there and you need to learn everything there is. And I feel like our ancient scriptures have covered almost 90% of what there is. Today, scientists have come to terms with the reality that there is a multiverse out there. 20,000 years ago, we had come to terms with the reality, with the fact that there was a multiverse out there. Literally, our Vedas describe our Purana Purusha as the person who lives 3/4 outside our universe and only 1/4 inside our universe. It describes our entire universe as a speck of dirt under the toenail of God. Imagine how insignificant that the ancients described us to be compared to how big the multiverse was, which I think 200 years ago in Europe, they were telling the world is a disk and we are sitting on top of a disk. It took them so long to come to terms with the reality that we were a globe. But our ancestors had figured out that we were in a multiverse, all people are like talking about how cool. I mean, obviously, I'm a great fan of Marvel, and people talk about how cool Marvel is to come up with the theory of the multiverse. But in the Ramayana, there was a story where it had already described the multiverse when Ram drops a ring through the crevice on earth and Hanuman dives deep in to take that crevice. He finds a world beyond where there are millions and billions of rings of Rama, which does not belong to his Rama, but Ramas across millennia, across multiverses. There are different Ramas with different stories, with different Sitas, all coming under one Paramapurusha. And that is the greatest thing that the Vedas give us. It gives us the idea of thinking more than what we are, the idea of the multiverse, the idea of something more. And without that something more, we would have always been that caveman. We would have always been that one scared cretin living under a rock. But the Vedas opened up our minds, and they opened up our minds before anybody else did. And this is one of the strongest feelings that I have, the strongest dedication. People say that we don't believe in God, or we don't believe in something. That is all right. Belief is something that you believe, whatever you take in. That's your system of taking something in. But I would say something that pushes you forward is knowledge. Knowledge is different from belief. You need to know before you believe. If you don't know, you won't believe. If you don't believe, you can't imagine. And if you don't imagine, you're under a rock. So that is my keenest and sharpest point in moving forward and pushing the Vedas forward with me. And I would say my life's efforts would be dedicated to doing that, to pushing religious and sacred knowledge forward as long as I live. And I would definitely encourage everyone to find their own purpose, because purpose is something that drives you, whatever it be, whether it be the preservation of the sacred scriptures, preservation of the environment, whatever it be. Preservation of something, the growth of something is what makes you move forward in life as a human being and take everyone with you forward in a direction. And that is my key pivotal fact in, pushing this forward and donating funds or whatever required efforts. It's not just about giving money. It's about putting your efforts in and putting these efforts in, being passionate about something. I would say that's something that drives me. I would say given an opportunity today, I would still leave my corporate job, go back to a Gurukul and study the Vedas full time over there. I'm completely willing to do that if that's what it takes. And that is something that I would always hold near and dear to my heart. And again, I would like to bring back the fact that it is my grandmother who built that in me. And without her, I don't think I would have been able to do anything. And she still continues doing so, mocking me if I don't know something, bringing out the fact that you must continue learning. And that is something in between us that we continue doing and I continue cherishing. And always, even today, I ask her the question, if I'm doubtful about something, what would she do? What would her father do? Because from our ancestors, we learn to go forward. A lot of times we think that some things are stupid, what our parents say, we find no reason in it. But she always has a valid point that says that if you don't know the reason, try and find the reason. Okay, no point in thwarting it just because you don't know the reason. If you go on a journey of finding the reason, and if you're still unable to find it, then you choose to, and you choose not to accept it. But if you don't even go on that journey, there's no point in just thwarting something which somebody has already put in the work into figuring out, right? It's like saying that, say Galileo said that the earth was round, but then you go and say, I don't accept it. Why should I accept it? I find no reason. If you blatantly, you stop accepting something, then you're ignorant. But if you go in a journey, you figure out, okay, there is proof, there's no proof. Then you are in a point where you're like well versed in what you're doing. You have the knowledge of what you're doing, and then you take an informed decision. I would like to conclude by saying this is together like the sum of my passion and my philanthropy in the region, and that's mainly it.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to see how your grandmother, her stories have become a full-grown passion in you. It's beautiful. And the way you described your purpose, it's amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think I will think again, now what is my purpose? What do I want to do? Thank you so much for explaining that.
Good to hear. Yes, no problem.
Last but not the least, Ms. Priti, your dance journey has been truly inspiring and full of dedication. What advice would you give to beginners starting classical dance today?
I think my advice goes to anybody who is pursuing anything that they truly love. Even if you're small, even if you're older, if you really love something, you should pursue it. But you should be willing to put the hard work. You should be willing to put in the time that it requires. You cannot do something halfway and then leave it and then expect it to flourish. So it's always important that when you are pursuing something that you're passionate about, you're willing to put in the time and effort that it requires. Because without it, your art form will not flourish. Whether it's music or dance or theater or poetry, you need to be involved. You need to do your own research. You need to come up with new ideas because an art form cannot stay stagnant forever. With generations, with time, everything evolves, and so does an art form. So you need to bring that creativity and that uniqueness to an art form that it requires in order for it to stay relevant. I also want to say that while an art form should flourish and change over time, it should always have the same foundations that it began with. Otherwise, nobody will ever know how it really began. It'll just be another like edition of like a dance form. So it's always important to know the roots, know your roots, how the dance evolved, and then build on that. So where you don't change the entirety of the art form, but you can change like parts here and there to fit your needs, to fit the requirements, so that an audience can enjoy it. And I think when it comes to kids just starting out in dance, it can be mainly based off of like your parents wanting you to pursue it or your grandparents. And I think that's really a beautiful thing because without your parents putting you in that art form, you will never know what it is like. It would take you much longer to figure out, like, hey, maybe I like this art form. So I think your parents pushing you and your grandparents like pushing you. For me personally, my entire family on my dad's side is into Carnatic music, and my granddad is very into Sanskrit literature and the Vedas. So it was always their support that really pushed me to continue with my dance journey. I had gone through a slump earlier in during COVID, but my grandparents always were rooting for me. Even though I couldn't see them in person, they were always telling me, Smriti, you can do this. I'm waiting for the day that you do your Arangetram. It's going to be amazing. When are you performing next? Who are you performing with? What songs are you performing? It's always their excitement that led me to be even more excited because I'm thinking, wow, I can do something where my grandparents can also be involved and where they also have an impact. So I think no matter what art form you're pursuing, always make sure that you're willing to put in the time and effort. And it's important to also take breaks to rest and to recuperate. And if you're burnt out, it's always important to just have some downtime for yourself while also continuing with your dance journey. So I think that's the most important thing for beginners.
That's such meaningful advice. Only an artist can understand another artist. Your family's role in the excitement of you is truly amazing. I'm sure your words will resonate deeply with anyone just starting out in art forms. That was our final question for this round. Now let's move on to another round. Fun quiz, or called the Wizard of Wits. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, let's begin. The first round we have is Celebrity Showdown. In this round, you must guess the celebrity from the photo provided. Our first celebrity is. Again, you both can answer. Whoever answers first gets it. Can you guess who this is? Any guesses?
I'm not able to see the screen if you're sharing.
1 second. Now is it visible?
It's still not. I think it's something on my iPad. Just give me a second.
Ms. Smriti, are you able to view it?
Yes.
I think still not happening for me.
Oh, that's really unfortunate. All right. Ms. Smriti, do you have a guess of who this person is?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
Oh,
I
wait.
am not well
Wait, I think
versed in
got it.
celebrities.
Uh,
Can you see?
yeah.
Yeah.
Ilayaraja, I guess.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is Ilayaraja.
Yes.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah.
All right, next photo. This is a bit trickier. Let's see if you can get it. Okay, can you guess who this is? You can ask me for hints.
Sure. I think a hint would help.
Yeah.
This person's surname is one of the world's most exclusive brands.
Mm. That's a lot of surnames, though.
It's a
That is a
luxury
lot.
brand.
Louis Vuitton.
No, I'll give you a
Close enough.
synonym. It's Dior.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Chris, you're right.
Yes, it is Christian Dior.
Christian Dior.
Took a bit of time, but we got it. Next is the emoji round. In this round, we'll give you a set of emojis and you must guess a word or anything provided. Let's move on. The first question is guess the country. Can you guess the country using these emojis?
Japan.
Japan.
Wow, that was lightning fast. You both have gotten it right. Well done. Now we have guess the type of walk. Can you guess what it is?
Catwalk.
Catwalk.
Accurate. It is catwalk. You guys are on a roll. Now we have guessed the instruments. This might be a bit hard. Let's see. This is our first instrument. Any idea?
Mridangam.
Wow. It is the mridangam. Even I didn't know that. Next, we have this instrument. Do you know what it is?
Drums, I guess.
Peculiar looking with 3 drums.
Bongos.
Any idea?
Bongos.
Yes, Priti, it's absolutely right. It is the Congo. Now, let's move on to the next round. Guess the person implied by the product. We'll show you a product and you must guess which person we're referring to. The first product is... Any idea?
Jordan.
Full name.
Michael Jordan.
Michael
It is
Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Yes, the creator of the iconic Air Jordan shoe line. Next, we have Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. Walt Disney.
It is Walt Disney. Wow, really quick. Next, we have riddle time. In this, I'm going to give you a riddle and you must guess the answer. The first riddle is, I'm a lady who never
Mona-
speaks. Wow, you guessed it without me even answering it.
Mona Lisa.
It is the Mona Lisa. Amazing. Next is this. I'm a wing without a bird, a check without a bill. I sprint on courts and roads, yet urge you to be still. From victory's ancient name, I dare you not to quit. When doubts knot up your laces, I whisper. Any idea? I'll give you a hint. What I'm referring to is one of sports' most iconic taglines.
Just do it.
It is just do it. It is just do it, which is Nike's tagline.
Given that it's a competitors, I couldn't say.
Wow. Next, we have this. I have a neck, but wear no tie. I sing when plucked, I scream, I cry. Rock stars love me, folks do too. I can sound mellow or rip straight through. I strum my magic, bend and slide. What am I? Electrified. What am I? Any ideas?
Guitar.
It is a
Electric
guitar.
guitar.
It is a guitar. See how we moved from traditional instruments to a modern one. It's truly amazing. Now, I twirl in circles, fast and free, like poetry in motion, you see. With ghungroos tied and eyes that gleam, I dance the tale of Krishna's dream. From northern chords to sacred sounds. Which dance am I?
Kathak.
It is the Kathak. Wow. And with that, we come to an end of our fun quiz. Thank you so much for participating.
It's a lot
Thank
of-
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all for your energy, quick thinking, whether you nailed every answer or just had a good laugh. The result was to have fun. And I think we scored well on that part.
As we come to the close of this wonderful event, I'd sincerely like to thank each and every one of you for being here. A heartfelt thanks to the management, our principal, Dr. Mahila Carvalho, and our vice principal, Ms. Preeti Suta, for providing us with this platform to interact with our distinguished alumni. We also extend our gratitude to the HOD of Social Studies Department, Mr. Chandrasekhar, and his team, Ms. Vibha Sharad Kumar and Ms. Disha Omnikuttan, and HOD of English Department, Ms. Sonali Roy, and teacher in charge, Ms. Yoni Dikshit. The broadcast brigade team, in Ms. Nandita Gupta and Ms. Richa Srivastava, for their constant support and guidance. Our sincere appreciation to the technical team, Ms. Aparna Vibhuti and Ms. Kavita, for ensuring the seamless streaming of the event. A special thanks to our inspiring guests today, Ms. Smriti Sridhar and Ms. Rajagopal Raghunath, for sharing their wisdom and energy with us. You have truly left us motivated and hopeful for the future of performing arts and design. Let's carry forward the passion, discipline, and positivity we witnessed today into everything we do. And to all the viewers, you have been a wonderful audience. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We request our alumni to stay back for a photo session.